Hello, I'm Elif and this is a recap for episode 49 of the series One Love, 24 hours after Turkey and before dubbed for TV. After stating that Mustafa is not the father of Nilay's child, Nilay curses everyone and angrily goes to her room to pack her things. Now Abdullah feels bad, and everyone gathers around him. Doğa sees Nilay leaving and stops her, saying, "Where are you going in this cold? Think about your child." Mustafa tells Nilay, "Let her go." Doğa also reproaches him and says, "Don't you care about the child?" Mustafa retorts, "Whoever the father is, let him worry about it." Fatih tells Doğa, "When it's about women, you always defend them no matter what. What should we do? Should we keep her here?" Doğa responds, "You loved that child just an hour ago. Is everything just about blood relations?" Fatih says, "Exactly." Pembe goes to Mustafa after attending to Abdullah and asks him to explain everything, and upon hearing the story, she says, "Thank God you've become a father. Nilay would never cheat on you." But Mustafa is convinced and understands that he has heard Nilay and Doğa's words, but Pembe is not convinced at all. In the meantime, they realize that Doğa's relative, Zulka, is related to Nilay and fits the description. They call Zulka and ask him what Nilay talked to him about, and Zulka says, she wanted to sell the children's gold and start something. She was saying this. With nowhere else to go, Nilay goes to Nusama's house and cries, but Nusama, out of fear of her mother, doesn't open the door to her. Sonme sees Nilay on the stairs and, seeing her condition, takes her home. Metehan and Mary see each other, and Metehan asks her, "Are you upset with me?" Mary says no and asks her, "Is it because of my hijab?" Metehan says, "Love doesn't care about these things." Then he asks Mary if they are still friends, and Mary responds positively. Ertuğrul takes Kızılcık to the charity building and introduces her to the employees and various departments. One of the employees named Aisha becomes disturbed by Ertuğrul and Kızılcık's intimacy. When Kızılcık wants to leave, Aisha approaches her with fear and says, "Be careful. Ertuğrul is not what he seems." Kızılcık is shocked, but Aisha doesn't give further explanation and quickly leaves. Gökhan, Gorkam's brother, who met Chaimin at the charity event, arranges to introduce her to a beneficiary and goes to see her with a bunch of flowers. Chaimin, unaware that Gökhan is married with 2 children, is pleased with him and enjoys talking to him. Sonmez scolds Nilay at home for not staying and talking to Mustafa, and Nilay says she spoke out of anger when faced with such a big accusation. Sonmez says, "Nilay, tell me the truth. Is there such a thing?" Nilay says, "God forbid. Do I look at anyone other than my husband?" Night, Kızılcık asks Alev how her relationship with Abdullah is going, and Alev says she's waiting for things to improve and will pursue divorce matters. Kızılcık is sure Pembe will never separate from her husband and tells Alev she will be hit again. Kızılcık also asks Nilay to talk to Mustafa and resolve their issue, saying it's a shame their life together might end due to baseless accusations. After Kızılcık leaves, Nilay remarks, "This is how lovers advise. Today, she convinced herself like this, poor thing." Fatih asks Doğa to make a decision sooner and clarify their life's path. He says, "I can't continue this Cold War anymore. I've lost." Doğa is very upset by Fatih's insistence. Omar goes to see Gorkam to talk about work, and they engage in conversation. Gorkam talks about his life and his family's hardships to Omar, explaining the reasons for his veiling alongside his family, and Omar understands him. Seeing the sincerity between his sister and Omar, Gorkam goes to his father's office and suggests they consider Gorkam's marriage, as their situation has gone beyond limits. Doğa visits Alev and learns that Fatih wants to separate from her. Alev says, "Didn't you want this?" But when she sees Doğa's tears, she hesitates and asks, "Don't you want to separate?" Doğa tearfully replies, "I don't know. Sometimes I hate him, sometimes I love him so much that." Kızılcık, preoccupied with Aish's words, looks for her at the charity the next day but doesn't find her, and his doubt grows. Sonmez calls Mustafa and asks him to meet. Mustafa, who likes Sonmez very much, doesn't refuse him. Sonmez reproaches Mustafa for the accusation against his wife and tells him that life is full of miracles, and perhaps his child is one of those miracles. But Mustafa doesn't believe anything good has happened in his life. Sonmez asks him to talk to Nilay. Chaimin talks to Mary about Gökhan, praising his maturity and masculinity and saying she's very impressed. On the other side, Gökhan talks to his wife with indifference and impatience, as she spends all her time with their children. At night, Doğa, with tears in her eyes, tells Fatih, "Fatih, I don't want to leave. I love you so much." Fatih, overwhelmed with happiness, embraces Doğa and promises to do anything for her and their daughter's happiness. Doğa says, I just want one thing. I want us to leave here. Fatih replies, you know I can't. That's why you want me to. When we got married, you knew we were supposed to live here. Doğa says, I didn't know your mother would treat me like this. Fatih gets angry and says, it's my mother again. Doğa, in tears, says she can't bear living there, and their only problem is that house and its rules. Fatih says, our problem is you and your stubbornness. Doğa gets upset. Fatih continues, I made a mistake. I destroyed myself to keep you, but you belittled me the whole time. Do you realize what you did to me? Doğa says, I forgot everything. You should too. Let's leave here. Fatih says, if you love me, stay here with me. Because I won't do anything anymore. I'm tired. Metehan finds a wallet on the ground and calls the owner's number. When he goes to return it, he is struck by the beauty of a middle-aged woman who happens to be the CEO of a company. They have coffee together, and that night Metehan receives a thank you gift from the woman. That night, Metehan dreams of Asra. He and Asra are in each other's arms in his dream. At night, Mustafa goes to Sonmez's house to talk to Nilay, but Nilay doesn't give him a chance to speak and says, what did I do to you to treat me like this? I'll get a test and prove the child is yours. Then I'll divorce you. At night, Ruzgar brings Nisama home, and in front of the door, faces Olev and taunts her, saying, isn't it the man you ruined your life for? Olev replies, you, who constantly betrayed me. Can't talk like this. Do you know what upsets me? That you left. I didn't betray you. I followed my feelings. Ruzgar says, in the end, you'll lose. Abdullah will go back to his family. I advise you to return before it's too late. Omid, worried, tells Nusama that there's been no news from his boss today and no response to his calls. Nusama is shocked. The next day, when Omid goes to the company, the police arrive and arrest all the top executives. When Omid informs Nusama that his boss has been arrested, Nusama is shocked. Abdullah and Olev meet, and Olev asks when they can formalize their relationship and get out of this situation. Abdullah says the process of their separation might take a long time, and the lawyer said it could take up to a year. Olev, angrily, says, I can't continue this relationship as a second wife. Abdullah tries to stop her. But Olev separates from him and thinks about all the warnings others had given her and how accurate they were, feeling very disturbed. Aish comes to see Kızılcık and says, Ertuğrul kicked me out when he found out I wanted to talk to you. He's been assaulting me for years. Help me. Kızılcık is shocked. Doğa and Fatih go to see their lawyer, who tells them they have a court date in 2 days, and their business will be concluded in one session. With tears, Fatih and Doğa sign the mutual divorce papers. Olev goes to see Panbah and says, I thought two women should talk to each other. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode.